This episode of the Walleye Files is presented by Image 360 Inc. and Crown Trophy of Oshkosh, Wisconsin. For over 30 years, Image 360 and Crown Trophy have been Oshkosh's go-to for signs, vehicle graphics, custom apparel, and awards. Proudly serving northeastern Wisconsin with quality that speaks volumes. Your brand deserves to stand out. Let's make it unforgettable. Need signs that pop, graphics that roar, and branded apparel that turns heads? Image 360 and Crown Trophy in Oshkosh have been rocking northeastern Wisconsin for 30 years. From bold branding to epic awards, we bring your vision to life. Let's go. Love Image 360 and Crown Trophy. Dan Harper, my friend, we are going to talk some ice fishing tackle today. How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Oh, dude, I'm fantastic. Things are good. And we're going to talk about something that we both don't do a crazy amount of, but I think we have some really good insights. So I think it's something we need to talk about. And that is ice fishing.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
So, I don't know, do you want to kick it off? Do you have a bait you want to start with?
Yeah, so we just started getting some good ice. I know there's guys out there today starting to catch some walleyes on Lake Erie. I don't know how long it's going to last. For me, when I first started ice fishing, and my dad never really let us go ice fishing, so I didn't really get into it until a later point in my life. When I did get on Lake Erie 8-9 years ago. My first walleye through the ice was a 31-incher. It was just a beautiful angelfish. I have an amazing picture of that one. It was great. But that day taught me a lot about ice fishing and just kind of walleyes in general, especially through the cold water period. We went out that morning and we had braided line to like a fluorocarbon leader with like number 9 jigging wraps and some shiners on them. And those fish they could not care less. They come look and swim right away. Thought about it through the day. Did a little bit of learning on some stuff, changed a couple things. Went back the next day with mono rods, and we downsized our baits. We went to like number 5 jigging wraps, the little guy shibber minnows here, with the mono lines. Again, just tip with shiners, and we cracked them. We had 50, 70 fish through the ice that morning. It was just an epic day, and it was a lot of really big fish. And it was really interesting to watch the change in just a couple little adjustments in the system made for our success that day. So that was really like an awesome learning point.
Yeah, Dan talked about jigging wrap. I've got a number 7 here. This is my favorite size in general. I love a number 7 for casting jigging wraps. I love number 7 for through the ice. I just feel like it is as effective of a size as anything because it mimics so many different baits. Another bait that is super similar is the Rip and Glide from Walleye Nations. I've got multiple different sizes here. This one's the really small one, number 1. This is number 3. I should have grabbed number 2 just because I could have all 3 of them. But I really like this size for perch and for crappies. I really love the 2 bigger sizes for walleyes. The name of the game when you're ice fishing, for me personally, I like the noise. I love making as much commotion under the water as I possibly can, whether it's with a bait that rattles or with a bait that has a lot of flash to it or a bait that can hop around and change direction. You're not moving around nearly as much as you do if you're in a boat. So calling a fish in is super important. And that's why baits like jigging wraps and rip and glides are super important. You're ripping them on the bottom, creating as much silt, moving it around, getting baits to bounce around, shoot one way, shoot back the other way, change directions. It all plays a really big key in catching fish. And you may not catch fish on that exact bait. You might call that fish into a dead stick rod or a spoon or something else, but the commotion is where it's at.
Yeah, and I think to that point too, like depending on where you're at in the country, there might be different reaction type baits that might be what you need to get set up with. I know I have like my buddy Sheldon out west, fishes the Dakotas a lot and goes up to Manitoba there, and those fish eat ripping wraps. It's been my experience here. I cannot catch a fish on a ripping wrap through the ice. I don't know why. They just don't care about it. And go into those super small baits.
This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Thunderhook Fly-Ins, the premium fly-in fishing destination in Ontario, Canada. Trophy walleyes, giant pike, and remote wilderness adventures await. Book your trip now at thunderhook.com.
Here, like number 5 jigging wrap, is what I have a lot of confidence in, just because of my experience, especially on mono. So as a guy that's maybe going to travel across the country, to go from like the Dakotas to Minnesota to Wisconsin, maybe if we get ice down to Ohio, is carry like a little bit of a little bit of everything. You might go to a different body water where they want the number 7 rip and wrap, or the number 7 jig and wrap, or the number 5 jig and wrap, or a shiver minnow, or a walleye creation bait. So just kind of have a little bit of everything in the arsenal, because those fish might be in a different mood that day, or they don't care for that bait on that body of water. So just kind of be armed a little bit for what you're trying to accomplish.
Right, and you talked about a rip and wrap, and I personally like the really small ones for ice fishing. And again, another bait that you can use that fits that shad style. This is the Lake Effect Lures eye catcher. These are small. Now, I'm not going to bait and knock and firing these around all day long. I'm going to use a little bigger bait. I want something else. But big perch, smaller walleyes, Lake Winnebago, it's a great place. I would think the Mississippi River, this would be a great bait. Something with a smaller profile for a smaller fish a lot of the times.
Yeah, and I think like going further down the road of like, you have those aggressive action type baits, the jig and wraps, the rip, Walleye Nations, the rip and wraps. Going to like a spoon, right? The VMC makes a couple good jigging spoons. I really like the Moonshine lure jigging spoons.
We've got some right here, buddy. We'll talk about them in a second. Yeah.
There's an old school company called Vidalia or something like that. I remember we bought them, 15, 20 years ago at the shop up in Port Clinton. And it's like a Swedish pimple, but it's got a big bend in it. And it just kind of has this like weird fall. That blue silver one on Lake Erie with a couple shiners, when that glide bait bite kind of dies, that bite will fire usually. So yeah, it's a really good alternative to those more aggressive presentations.
Yeah, so when I think of spoons through the ice, I think of two different things. I think of a flutter type spoon or a heavier rattle style spoon. So we've got the Lake Effect Lure Shame Shaker. It's a banana style spoon. Really nice, pretty bait. If it'll focus, I don't know if it will, but super pretty bait. Big glass rattle in the back. And then you've got another similar bait to that is the Buckshot Rattle Spoon. It doesn't have that big curve to the back of it. But again, that Buckshot Rattle Spoon's got the same kind of glass rattle on the inside. This is from Northland. You've got the old Northland Fire Eye minnows. So you go from those heavier spoons to these flutter type spoons. So you got the Northland Fire Minnow or Fire Eye Minnow. These are old. I don't know if they make these anymore. I can't remember what this one was. It's another flutter type spoon, not quite as heavy. It's going to be a little different action. It's going to flutter instead of just kind of drop down to the bottom. And my personal favorite, the Swedish Pimple. I've caught more the handful of times I fished Lake Erie, I caught more fish on a Swedish Pimple than anything else combined. And one really important tip, and if you can remember back to when Mr. Mark Martin was on the show, guys, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. Mark Martin is an incredible fishing mind. He talked about the importance of having your hook on that bait correctly. Now, these spoons, they're concave. They got that big banana style. You want your two hooks from your treble on the back of that spoon, not the front of that spoon, because if it's like this, it's going to follow itself up. It falls different. You don't want to mess the action of the bait. You want the bait to make the action, not the hook. This episode of the Walleye Files is brought to you by Lake Effect Lures, the tackle that turns every cast into a catch. Built for serious anglers, tested on real fish, and proven to get bites when nothing else will. Get yours at lakeeffectlures.com.
Yeah, those are awesome points. Yeah, absolutely. I think just kind of as like a general thought on ice fishing overall, there's a lot of tackle developments in the industry from open water, but I think a lot of really cool ones are coming in the ice world. I saw Rapala came out with that new little tiny rip and wrap. It's like a 3/4 inch or a 1 inch with a one little belly hook. Yep. There's a lot of really cool little tungsten ice jigs for bluegills and panfish. There's a lot of really sweet techniques and baits going out in that general realm.
Yeah, and for me personally, there are things you can go way down the rabbit hole as far as tackle development, or you can do something super simple. I personally love chasing tip ups. I love chasing flags in the middle of, you find a weed edge or you find a little rock structure, you're putting tip ups out, spread them out. I run like a 50-pound ice braid with a swivel down to 12 or 15-pound fluorocarbon, or even lighter if you're chasing trophy pike and trophy walleyes through the ice. I really like 8-pound fluorocarbon. One split shot, small little treble hook. Personally, that's the way I've caught my biggest pike through the ice. My biggest walleyes through the ice have all been that way: 28, 29, 30-inch walleyes, 38 to 40-inch pike. Small number 12 hooks. Let that fish eat for a bit. I love suckers and shiners, golden shiners, and then for big pike, obviously, you're going to throw something else. You could throw some type of dead bait, whether it's shiners, suckers, schmelt, whatever. But tip-up fishing is a super simple way to set up. It's great if you're getting a lot of flags, even with the little hammer handle pike, especially if you have kids on the ice. It's super fun. And it's also a super effective way to fish because you're spreading out, you're fishing in an area, not just a single set of holes.
Yeah, and I think the beauty of ice fishing that I really do enjoy and I love is getting the chance to chase those different species. You might be able to go up into a little inland reservoir or something where you can go get your 8 to 10-inch bluegills, your crappies, your big yellows. Like we got Pine Tuning Reservoir over here in eastern Ohio and Pennsylvania border, where we can go get big perch and you can keep 30 of them and they fire really hard and it's a lot of fun. So it's a nice variation throughout the course of your season to do something different, chase different species of fish that maybe aren't accessible to you or you don't really want to do when you put your boat in the water. I think one of the more magical things that I really truly enjoy about ice fishing is that magic hour at the end of the day. Is that sun starts to set and those bloodworms start to come off the bottom and those perch start to fire and you just get that like hour where it's just you're cracking them and they're just blah, 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 blah. You watch like 30 of them come up afterwards and you're just like, yeah, it's a really cool change of pace for a lot of guys. You're up more north than I am, so you guys get to do a little bit more than we do down here. But we have like a bunch of stocked inland lakes with rainbow trout. The pan fishing is great. If you can get on Erie, obviously you have a shot at a giant fish.
Hey guys, today's show is brought to you by Walleye Nation Creations, lures built by anglers for anglers. From the death jig to crankbaits that drive big walleyes crazy, they've got the tools to help you land your next trophy. Make sure to gear up at walleyenationcreations.com.
Fish. And the nice thing about ice fishing too is it doesn't take a lot of money or gear to kind of get into it. Just dress warm, get yourself a little auger, a little sled, maybe a Vexlar. If you don't want to go live scope or anything like that, you don't need a ton of gear. Don't think you have to spend a lot of money to get into it to enjoy it. And you can catch a lot of fish and have a great time. And you just can go anywhere because there's ice. You don't have to have a boat. You can just walk out there.
Yeah, I think the reason ice fishing is so incredibly popular is because it's super accessible. But with that, guys, as we close this out, make sure you're being safe. Trust your ice guides. Trust your guys that are out there a lot, talking about reports, especially places like the Bay of Green Bay or Lake Erie. People aren't out there to steer people wrong as far as ice safety. Always travel in a group. I would not personally fish alone very often. Striker makes an incredible series of suits between the Apex, the Predator, the Guardian. All those suits have flotation in them. Super important. Always check your ice. Use a spud bar. Make sure you got a pair of ice picks around your neck. But more than anything, we want you to have fun. We want you to be safe.
Yeah, and just kind of trust your gut. Like we were on Lake Erie a couple of years ago, and we were 9 miles offshore, and we were sitting there jigging through a hole, and we're cracking them. And then we noticed that, like, as soon as you drop your jig wrap into the water, it blew away like 30 foot to the right, like to the east. We're like, oh man, that current's picking up, the sheet's moving. Like, this isn't good. Jumped on the sled. And by the time we got to the crack, 4 miles offshore, it's already 2-3 foot. We were able to jump with the sled. But if we didn't trust our gut and know that this wasn't probably looking correctly, we were going to be in a lot of trouble. So when you're out there on the ice, if it doesn't feel right, maybe it's probably not right. So just kind of, it's not worth going in for. So just kind of trust your gut and use your judgment wisely. Ice fishing can be a great way to go out there, especially if you have great ice, to get those young kids on some small panfish. You don't have to have a boat. You don't have to feel like you have to spend a lot of money. It's a good way to go out there and just enjoy the environment, especially in the cold winter time when you're kind of like down in the doldrums like we are now, where you're like, man, we can't run around, going 70 miles an hour. But just be smart about it, like you said.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy, for joining me for this tackle talk. I appreciate you. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And go catch some fish on the ice.
Yeah, buddy.